Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome to Gaming Arcadia Round Table, the first podcast that we're doing going into 2025. The industry has been at a little bit of a standstill, as you'd expect, over the little break, but there's still things to talk about because we've got a whole fantastic year of games ahead of us, and we're going to get into some of that. But first, we're going to say hello to my esteemed co-hosts. Well, are they esteemed? Yes, they most certainly are. Luke, how you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Yeah, happy to be back in the new year, the year of dreams, gaming dreams anyway, maybe. I'm sure we'll talk about some that are in my dreams, some games. So yeah, happy to be here.
Oh, that's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Darge, tell me about your dreams. No, don't tell me about your dreams, actually. Never tell me about your dreams. Not while we're on YouTube. Tell me how you're doing.
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Good. 4 days into the new year, and I don't know, feeling all right about this year so far. But yeah, that's nothing too exciting. Back to work Monday, so yeah, I'm sure the co-op games this week I'll be a completely different person. So make the most of me whilst I'm cheerful.
Fair enough. That's ominous. It's ominous, but the co-op split stream on store will still be brilliant. So come along there if you can. Thank you everybody that is here, bringing in the new year with us and saying hello. It's always appreciated. Let's do, though, because we're getting back into the normal run of having a podcast, which it's been a little while. We did our annual special last year going over all of the highlights of 2024, but this one we're going to go into the normal format that we run with, which means we're going to start off talking about some games that we've been playing, because that's always my favorite part, is just hearing about games and experiences with them. But you've also got on YouTube the Q&A box, which is there and ready, so you can talk to us as we go, and we'll be keeping up with the chat as much as we can. But if you've got burning questions and you don't want to throw money at super chats and whatever, stick them in the Q&A box, and at the end of the podcast we go through those and get as many of them as we can. I'm not going to say all of them because there might be 5 million by the time we get there, but we'll get through as many of them as we can at the end of the show, which is always a good time as well. So burning topics, questions for us, things you want to talk about, stick them in there and we'll get to them. For now though, Darge, you've been playing a few games this week. Tell me about one of them to begin with. What have you been playing?
I'll start off with Martha is Dead. Been playing through that. Replicant, part of the community, suggested it. Really dark story. Really enjoying it, but I sort of said today, like, obviously I know it's not an action first person perspective game, but just traversing in that game is just a fucking chore in itself, you know. Like Martha moves very, very stiffly.
She's dead. Spoilers.
Well, I can't say nor deny, but yeah, but I think the story's going to keep me there because I kind of got to a point now where it's like I want to find out a conclusion with it. Yeah, Martha is Dead, and I've also been playing a lot of Balatro this week. A lot of Balatro. I never realised that you could actually sort the jokers for the multipliers and stuff. So that was like a big revelation for me. And it's opened up all new doorways with the game. So I'm just actually, I was even on the merch store looking at the fucking Balatro t-shirts. Like, that's how much I've come up for that game. Yeah, so Balatro, I said to Luke in the week, you know, on our last week, he referred to it as like the Minesweeper, or like Solitaire for the new generation. It really is. I instantly, Gamsley said, like, oh, ain't you got it on mobile? Because I left my Steam Deck at home, and then I'm instantly paying £10 to have the app on iOS, and I love it. I love it so much. But yeah, they're pretty much the only two games I've been playing this week, mate.
Well, that's not true because we played Space Marine 2 together. I can't believe how forgettable that was for you. But
no, it's been a long week.
It's been a long week. Have you cleared Balatro?
Nah, I'm not like I say, the reordering of the Jokers was a big revelation for me because obviously I literally said to Luke, I was one hand away from finishing a run the other night and it just fucked.
Do you think when you do finish it, when you get your first clear or whatever, are you going to carry on playing Balatro, or will that be it for you?
No, I'd continue because of, like we said about this on the year close show, like, because of with Balatro, there's just endless possibility. Well, not endless, you know what I mean? But there's so many varieties of cards and this, that, and the other. And obviously, Local Funk, the developer, is still going to be adding stuff to the game over time that you will just keep going back to. I mean, I didn't realise, like, the content creators, there's content creators out there that are doing infinite figures and chasing, you know, like all this stuff. So yeah, I think I'll be happy just to finish a run, if I'm being honest. But I don't think I'll put it down once I've done it. No way.
Did you ever clear Minecraft? No, Minesweeper.
Yeah, did Minesweeper a few times back in the day. Only on the smaller scale. When it got a bit big, it was a little too much for Darge's head. You know what I mean? That's why I'm on the roofs of London.
Solitaire?
Oh, I love Solitaire. Like, yeah, Solitaire and what's the other one? Mahjong, is it? Like the Asian puzzle game? Yeah, I love a little puzzle.
All right. Just getting to know you. You got Nate wants to know when we managed to secure a Peaky Blinder on the podcast. So I just thought, you know, we'll give you a proper intro and get to know what games you cleared over your time.
You.
I don't know anything about Peaky Blinders, to be honest, or I'd make that funnier, but I can't. Luke, what you been playing?
Me?
Yeah.
I've been playing just two things really. One of which is Black Myth Wukong. Which I picked back up.
Controversial. You were a hater. You hated it. You were upsetting Radders.
Yeah, I know. He'll be pleased about my evolving views on that game. And I've been playing a bit of Hades 2 as well. So just
listen. Just like rewind a tiny bit and tell me about your evolving views on Black Myth Wukong. Talking's really difficult.
Yeah.
perfect for a podcasting kind of environment. But Black Myth Wukong, tell me about it.
Yeah, I mean, when it came out, I picked it up and I played, I think, about 7 hours or so in fairly quick succession, and I enjoyed it, but it wasn't like, it wasn't really grabbing me much. I was just kind of like, yeah, this is pretty good. Certainly a very nice looking game. And then other stuff came out, and I kind of put it down and got more engrossed in other stuff. And then I finished in Indiana Jones, and I picked up Dragon's Dogma 2, and I played a tiny bit of that. But I was like, I want to kind of save this because I feel like January is going to be pretty dry for games for the most part. And, I'd like to just play Dragon's Dogma 2 through that period because I know I'll enjoy that. So I started playing Wukong again, and obviously it did that thing. I don't know, I'm sure other people have had this. Like when you end a session like months ago on like a boss in one of these games, and you haven't been able to beat the boss, and then you go back to it, and then within like 3 tries, you've overcome the boss, and you're like, well, I'm brilliant at this game now, clearly, so I need to keep my luck and my brilliance going. So I did that because I was on a boss called the Tiger Vanguard, which is like one of the bosses on Chapter 2, which is where it was. So beat that, and then I was like, okay, I'll keep playing. And then I did, and then I think I've closer to 20 hours into the game now, and I'm kind of like, it's got that like it's got so many boss fights all the time, and those are always the best bits of these games, that just when you kind of like, I'm a little bit bored of like traversing a kind of linear environment, it's like, no, here's a boss battle. Why don't you go and enjoy that? And you're like, oh, all right, okay, this is pretty cool. And then there's some really, really cool ones. So it's been a lot of that, basically. And it's, it introduces new abilities quite regularly to you as well. And like, it's a simple but quite satisfying loop, and it's not like it's definitely not my game of the year, but it's solid, it's fun, it's a fun game to play. So that's my, that's why I'm playing it.
Well, that's nice. I haven't got onto that one yet. And obviously Radders is a massive advocate for it and is always talking about how it was his game of 2024. Not always. Sorry, Radders. I don't mean to paint you as a boring bastard. He's got other things to say for himself as well. But he's a big fan of that game. And it's one of those things where someone enjoys something quite that much, it makes you want to play it.
Yeah.
So it is on my list to get to soon, as are so many other things. But so you've done that, and you said a second game, and I've already lost what it was. What was the other one you've been playing? Black Myth Wukong and...
Hades 2.
Hades 2, yeah, I forgot that one on purpose because it's illegal. The game's not out yet. How are you finding Hades 2?
Oh, it's brilliant. It's brilliant.
Of course it bloody is, and it will be.
So good. Yeah, it's just fantastic. And again, I mean, like the original, it's a great pick up and play game for 20-30 minutes, and then you go back to it. Go back to something else, and then you come back to it, and you don't feel like you're kind of too out of sync when you leave that game for a bit, because obviously it's all run based. So it's been really nice going back to it, and I exclusively play it on the Steam Deck. I think it's a perfect handheld game. And they did a big content drop a couple of months ago for it, which is kind of added extra weapons and new mechanics, and then some more of the story, basically. So I'm sure that will be out fully this year. I would be really surprised if they didn't bring it out of early access at PC this year.
Yeah, it's got to be this year. Otherwise, I'll be quite upset that I waited. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that one. So last time you spoke about that was a week ago, and you hadn't beaten, I don't know if it's the last boss or a particular boss, but there was a boss that was difficult, and you still not. Oh, what travesty. So everyone expressed their disappointment. But he's having a nice time, and isn't that what counts? Yeah. I've been playing. Do you know what? I finished Dragon's Dogma 2. Last time we were here, I was talking about that. The ending sequences, like getting towards the end, had some atrocious behaviour that was upsetting me. And I have actually finished it now. It had yet more surprises in how atrocious its behaviour could become, and just how much jank they can throw in there to make it subvert your expectations of what a game is supposed to be and what it's supposed to do and how it's supposed to work in a bad way. But I love that game overall for what you can do out in the world. and I hope to see more. I hope to see more games follow suit and just let you roam free and just let weird stuff happen.
Frolic.
Let you frolic in the long grass, casting your spells and slaying things. Absolutely. So I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic that I'll be able to take what I learned from Dragon's Dogma 2 and apply it in Monster Hunter Wilds. I'm saying me, not the developers. I don't want Capcom to apply what they've learned. They can do whatever the hell they want. But I want me as a player to be able to apply what I've learned in terms of how I experience the game and make it work in Monster Hunter Wilds. And then you may never see me again, because that'll probably be a game that you can grind a lot harder. Dragon's Dogma 2 is not a grindy game by any stretch. Like, all of the many vocations and things that you can apply yourself to, they're all relatively short paths, which is also, I say that without like even a tinge of negativity. That's not a bad thing at all, for the kind of game that it is. Monster Hunter Wilds would be quite different. But I've also today started a game that I had on my backlog and put off for a very long time because I didn't think I'd like it. But had to play it one day, and that's Final Fantasy 16.
I saw that.
Yeah, you saw I was playing it on Discord. Have you played it, Luke?
Yeah, I finished it. Yeah.
Did you do it on the PlayStation when it came out?
I did.
Okay. So I play Final Fantasy games, absolutely, and like adore the series, but progressively over time it's got further and further away from what I like about it. And I didn't enjoy 15 very much. And 16 kind of, it moves it even further away from its roots in the way that I kind of expected and knew that it would. It moves it further away from its roots. It's like even less of an RPG. You don't even control the party members and things like that. But from the opening 3 hours that I've played so far, I am so much more enjoying this than I did 15. Like 15 was immediately, everything about it was like, I hate what you're doing with these characters in this world. There's so much about this that I dislike, and I'm just going to play it for the music. And then 16 comes along and it moves it even further along the path that I'm not thrilled about, more towards being an action game, more westernized than all the rest of it. But actually, I'm intrigued. I like what you're doing with these characters. I like the story. Nothing about this is like getting my back up. I'm going to play this. I'm enjoying it. And I'm playing on the PC, which is, it's not a perfectly smooth experience, I'll say that much. But I'm impressed so far. So you have to tune in future weeks to find out if that lasts once the game opens up and I see what it's really about once it gets going. But as an intro sequence, some of the HDR stuff is like, oh, that's gorgeous. Show me that phoenix against the night sky. This is nice to look at.
It's very, the story's really strong in that game, and one of the real strong bits, which I think 16 really fell down on, were the boss battles.
Mm-hmm.
So the boss battles in 16, some of those are probably some of the best I've played on any game this gen. So you have those to look forward to as well. Some of the stuff they do is really impressive.
Yeah, and it doesn't like it's not anything like the Final Fantasy games that I used to like. It just isn't. And I kind of accept that and play it for what it is. And so far, so good. So sorry, Tony, Final Fantasy 15 has dropped even further down the rankings of Final Fantasy games because it's not as good as the ones before it or the ones after it. Yeah, so that's what I've been playing and some other things as well. But that's all I can think of off the top of my head. So let's move on, shall we? Unless anyone has any particular questions or anything for each other or anything on the games there, which we don't. Happy days. Let's move on to talking about 2025 and some of the games that are coming, some of the games that we're looking forward to. You've had, Darge, you put a thread in our little Discord forums asking the community about what games they're looking forward to. Did you see any in particular crop up again and again?
I think there's a lot of there's Doom, Doom the Dark Ages, and there was a load of spam conversation going on in there. Doom, Fable, someone else has put Gears E-Day, Connor. I don't know if that'll make this year, but it'd be nice. But yeah, basically Gears, Fable, Avowed, someone else has put in there Avowed. Not enough people put him Death Stranding 2, unfortunately, but obviously that was the correct answer, and then they've all got it wrong. But yeah, obviously Fable Avowed. I don't know if Gears is this year, but I mean, you know, those games particularly, a lot of people are waiting for to see what happens with them. Yeah, nothing out of left field. We got a little list here, haven't we? And we've kind of got a lot.
I'm going to surprise you though. So Brian Scully just said Atomfall, which has surprised me because I don't think I'd seen anyone mention that. But Atomfall's coming this year as well.
Yeah.
Kind of interesting. What we're going to do is Luke's done a little bit of homework and put us a big old list together of some of the things that are quite exciting coming this year. But rather than go through it one by one and kind of break them down like we did for the 2024 show, what we're going to do this time is we're going to pick a few favourites to look at. And I'm going to start with the one that you just mentioned, Darge, because that's a nice, easy starting point. And I know that Luke is looking forward to this one as well. Death Stranding 2. So, oh no, Luke's already celebrating. Luke, why are you so looking forward to Death Stranding 2? How exciting is this one?
Very exciting for people who enjoy Death Stranding anyway. I imagine it's not so exciting if you didn't like Death Stranding at all. It's just more Death Stranding, man. Like it's difficult to articulate why people will be excited for that if they finished the first one and really enjoyed it. But I think it kind of the first game. I mean, like I love Kojima stuff anyway. Anything that Kojima makes is I typically find at least great, if not more than that. And Death Stranding was such a weird game that I think only Kojima could make because it is so bizarre. Not just in terms of like conceptually what it's about, which is quite strange, but also in terms of gameplay mechanics, like the focus on, deliveries and managing your weight and managing distribution of packages. And, then you've got Timefall and BTs and all this extra stuff that's in the world trying to kill you effectively. It's just a strange game and then wrapped up in this absolutely bonkers story that when you see it, it kind of, you look at it and like probably just think this doesn't make sense at all. And then you finish it and you're like, well, actually everything was pretty much explained there. So I do get that now.
Yeah.
And then he shows off a trailer, which I think is the one on the screen, where even for people who have finished the first game, you're looking at it like, what?
I was going to ask
what
that.
What's actually going on?
I was really curious because for me as an outsider, I watched this and I'm like, wow, there's these weird hands and puppets and all of this kind of stuff going on in it. As someone that's not played Death Stranding, this means nothing to me. But does it mean something if you played the first one? And now I'm getting the impression from you that not so much.
Well, it's like it's a mix. So a lot of it does because a lot of the setting is familiar. A lot of the concepts they show in the trailer are very familiar. But then they do stuff like the puppet, the stop motion puppet, and you just like, no idea what that is. No idea. So he's kind of like doubling down on the weirdness of it, and it's just very eccentric. It's very Kojima, more so I think than any game he's ever made. And I've said it before, but like I think Kojima is one of the only people where people give him like these huge AAA budgets to essentially make games that are more indie in nature, like very creative, very adventurous. And he's probably the only person that people trust with that amount of money. So, I'm just really looking forward to it. I think from the trailer, it looks like they will lean a bit more into action. It won't be an full action game. Like it's not going to be all shooting. But I think one of the complaints about the original was that more, conflict would be nice in a sequel, and it looks like they're going to try and deliver some of that, which I think would be really cool. Because obviously, anybody who's played the Metal Gear games and particularly stuff like Phantom Pain, like the action is really, really good. Even if you're not stealthing, it's really, really responsive and interesting and full of different kind of ways in the sandbox of interacting with enemies. So I hope that some of that makes it into this as well. But it just looks great.
Do you think that Kojima listens to fan feedback? or doesn't give a shit?
No, I don't think he gives a shit at all. I think he just makes what he wants to make, and I'm not adverse to that at all.
Creative vision.
Yeah, he's like one of the only video game auteurs that we have, right? So I think just it's nice to have someone who's just, okay, this is my vision and we're going to go with it. And, I think it'll be successful. But if it's not, I'm happy that I've made what I wanted to make. So I really appreciate that, actually. So particularly in a world where obviously, publishers and developers are chasing, common concepts and ideas and ways of playing games and genres and all that sort of stuff. It's nice to have someone that's just kind of way out of kilter with that.
Fair. Darge, I feel cool for not letting you introduce this one, because I know that this is your absolute pinnacle for 2025 that you're most looking forward to, right?
I think Luke was better to lead with, because as he said there, like, he's a Kojima fan, like, of all of his works, you know what I mean? Whereas I can't. Obviously the early Metal Gears and that, I played those, and Death Stranding was one of the games that I was taking the piss out of when it was first shown, but I'll eat that humble pie all day long. I think what Luke said there is, like, we was talking on the closeout to last year's show about these sort of non-linear based stories, and what Death Stranding does really well is, if you can stick with it, because a lot of people say getting past chapter 3, if you can stick with it and get past chapter 3, then it all starts coming at you thick and fast. And like I say, Kojima is, like, from this story, and I heard Metal Gear Solid 5 was similar as well, where he will have a million pieces going on, but at the end he will bring it all together, and it will make sense, and that's how I felt with Death Stranding. It's a great story. With regards to this one, there's still a lot of, like, what's it going to be? Like Luke said, about maybe more combat focused, because obviously the original mission for Sam was to reconnect America, and now it's like sort of being touted within, like, reconnecting the world, so to speak. So obviously we've seen sort of like little glimpses of different biomes this time, and stuff like that, sort of desert looking areas and stuff like that. So it's obviously, like I say, we ain't really going to know. Obviously Higgs was in the trailer. The first game was predominantly, like, you had the BTs in the environment and the BBs and this, that and the other, and unless I'm mistaken, obviously with the ending of the first game the way it was, I don't know if the BTs are still going to be in the world. So the whole dynamic of I just need to see more of it, because the whole dynamic of this game can completely change. And like you say, it does go for a more combat heavy. The combat in the original game was the BTs, you know what I mean, and stuff. Like, obviously I know you was firing your own piss and shit at them, but they were the enemy type in the game, whereas now, they could all be gone, and there could be this new threat that Higgs is fighting with in the warehouse in that scene, and it could be a little bit more, proper combat focused. Don't really know, but it's, when you see, like, the stop motion puppet and the hands across the face, like the mask, and this sort of stuff. Probably after my experience with Death Stranding, and obviously Luke has a far better experience with him than I do, if there's anyone out there that's going to make sense of it all, it's probably going to be Kojima. But like I say, with regards to Death Stranding 1, and we said about budgets, big publishers are quite happy to give him budgets to create. And we said before on the show about whether internally Sony were happy with how Death Stranding done, but in the longevity of it all, in the end, it was a success, the game. I know I ended up going to Game Pass, and obviously when it got onto the PC, it's been, like, I think, was it 20 million porters have entered the world, or something like that, 19 million players. Yeah, they put a thingy out, and I think it was 19 million people have ventured into the world. So, it done well. But yeah, Death Stranding 2 is like, like I say, obviously, I want that day one PC, because that will depend on whether or not I go and buy a console or not, because that FOMO will be a thing for that game, and that's, like, probably my most anticipated game this year, personally.
Dr. Scotsy has asked, he's made a statement that he wishes that Kojima made movies because he can't sit through all the cutscenes in this game, and the Death Stranding game has got a reputation for being slower paced. But I have a question as someone that hasn't finished it. for either of you. Could Death Stranding have existed and successfully been told like in any other medium, or is it quite a uniquely works because it's a game kind of telling?
They aren't they doing like a TV show or something?
Kojima's doing some other bits and pieces, yeah.
Yeah, they're actually doing a DS2 movie. A DS movie with A24, the production company. So they do like a lot of like Jordan Peele stuff, for example. So it kind of fits in what they do in terms of weirdness.
Yeah.
So I think you can tell it in a film, but I think much of the experience, I think, is actually stronger because it's a game, because you are progressing through these very desolate, lonely landscapes, and the music hits, and like, you know, something else will happen. Like that systemic nature of it all, I think lends itself to the themes of the game and the connection element. So I think it works probably better as a game, but you could do the plot in a movie for sure.
Yeah, I think like obviously I watched the documentary on it, like the making of the game and that, and what Kojima was going for was this like the social aspect of the game, you know, leaving likes and doing bits in the world. That was what he was trying to build. So because he was saying that people were saying to him, "Can we bomb this off?" And he was like, "No, this is the whole point of the game. Like, is for people to connect. They won't physically touch each other, but they can leave things for each other in order to." You know, the social is it called social stranding or something? The social or something is called, whatever it's called, is a really unique idea. But like I say, this is the thing with DS2. Like, you know, we see a rendered cinematic trailer for it, and we've seen a little bit of sort of just walking along the biomes, but we haven't seen too much. You know, and now the next time we see it, there should be a fair old chunk, like, because it's drawbridge, isn't it? You've got that big ship now that you're on, the drawbridge, I think it's called, the Fragile. Yeah. It looks like, whereas in the original game it was like the USA and you walked across it, now it could be the globe and you can choose different areas to fly to, you know, and stuff like it. Yeah, I just can't wait to see more.
Seabor. Yeah, okay, good. I haven't played the first one. Darge, you actually gifted me Death Stranding at the tail end of last year, maybe, and I've not got to it yet, but I'm definitely planning to one of these days. Maybe I'll try and get it done in time for Death Stranding 2. Realistically, I probably won't, but I'll try. Luke.
Yeah.
Pick one of the games from the list that you want to talk through, that you want to introduce. A good one.
A good one. I think one of the they're all good ones. What are you talking about? One of the ones that I think we're all looking forward to and stands out for me alongside DS2 is probably Doom: The Dark Ages, right?
Oh yes.
So that is, if Death Stranding's my number one most anticipated game, Doom is number two, but by a hair, like by a smidge. Because I just don't think id Software can really miss on Doom games, because they've hit so well with Doom and Doom Eternal, and the DLC for Doom Eternal, which is also very good. So, and I think, I mean, probably Darge agrees as well. Having played Indiana Jones and seeing what the new engine can do, and then kind of thinking about what this game is trying to do in terms of changing up a bit of the structure mechanics of Doom into, you know, less platforming, more open areas, you know, more painkiller, Serious Sam type environments with enemies and stuff like that, and then these different mobility mechanics that this game has. That's really exciting to me. That's super exciting, and it's just, I mean, I think you might have said this before. It's like the stupidest idea. It's like medieval Doom. How does it, like, that sounds so stupid, and then you look at the trailer and you go, no, that completely makes sense. Like, they've just like absolutely nailed that. So I can't wait for it.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I'm just going to jump in, like, and just say exactly the same, like, as in regards to id Software. Like we said about Indiana Jones and Machine working on it, and this, that, and the other. And if there's anyone that's going to get the most out of that engine, it will be id. I was just really intrigued to see, like, obviously you've got the trailer up there and I'm looking at it now, and obviously the premise for the game is like the origins, so to speak, of the Doomslayer. So obviously he's still like kind of in a spaceship setting with a space suit, right? But it's in the events before 2016's Doom. So yeah, I'm just really intrigued in that more. And you know, Doom, you can never argue, as far as I'm concerned, is like one of the best controlling, feeling FPS games going. It's just going to be fucking incredible. Like I say, you know, the engine, obviously, I love the engine anyway. So yeah, give me more Doom. I'm a big fan of well, we call them reboots, but I think they're still sort of 2016 Doom Eternal. And this one, I liked Doom Eternal. You know, the sort of arena areas where he was sort of like swinging from the bars, like, you know, and you could just traverse around these arenas without touching the ground and just causing fucking destruction. I was a big fan of it, but this looks definitely a lot more arena open from the sort of stuff that we've seen, and it looks like it's going to be a lot more enemies on screen. So I'm assuming the Doomslayer is going to be a lot more fucking badass. Yeah, so Doom the Dark Ages. Can't wait. Is there an actual nailed on date for this one yet?
No, just the year.
It's coming this year. So yeah, well, when it comes, I'm sure it'll be quality. Can't wait for it.
Very, very, very few of the games on the list actually have a nailed on date for this year. Because dates slip so often that people aren't going to commit to them. Generally, though, I loved Doom 2016 and I love Doom Eternal, but purely gameplay wise, Doom's always like, it's renowned for being like a rip and tear, metal as fuck, proper boomer shooter, and I adore it for that. But gameplay wise, I prefer 2016 over Doom Eternal because I've kind of felt they overlayered the mechanics in Doom Eternal. Really, really enjoyed the game, don't get me wrong. But 2016 had that simplicity, and everything that they've said about the Dark Ages, so it kind of acknowledges that, because they talk about it as if they're going to just like remove a few of those movement layers, and that it's almost rotational in the combat in Eternal, because you have to use the flamethrower to get your ammo, you have to use your chainsaw to get your armor and then ammo and all the rest of it, and there's quite a lot to rotate and keep in play rather than just the simplicity of shooting everything with a shotgun because it's funny. And they talk about wanting that, like, you're constantly under fire, you do need to keep moving, but it's simplistic more so, as a thing that they wanted to move back to, the way that the older games felt. And I'm happy about that personally from a gameplay point of view, but the gameplay is simple. I don't think anybody expects Doom the Dark Ages is going to play anything other than immaculate. It's going to be brilliant, because all of the games that they make are, including Eternal, despite the stuff that I was kind of critical of there. It is overall buttery smooth, brilliant, rip and tear fun. But story-wise, look, you know this because you did all the DLC as well. Story-wise, they tried to push quite a bold kind of narrative. It wasn't emotionally deep or anything, but they pushed scale and they pushed what's happening, and they made a thing of the Doomslayer. They concluded his story and all the rest of it. Do you think that this medieval Dark Ages Doom is an interesting avenue to explore for lore, or should we not really give a fuck about the lore?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I think it's funny because I think id clearly care about the lore, but they don't take the lore super seriously. Do you know what I mean? I think whenever I've heard Hugo Martin talk about the lore of the Doomslayer, he always talks about how it's meant to be deliberately very over the top and ridiculous. It's not as if they've got a big lore book and they're going, oh, okay, well, we need to do X, Y, and Z. And I quite like that, because you can, if you wanted, you could just ignore the lore stuff in the Doom reboot and Eternal. It's not that relevant, but it's quite funny and so comical in a lot of ways, so grand for one character, that it's quite enjoyable to follow. So I mean, I think the prequel will do some cool lore stuff, but I can't say it's one of those things where I'm like, oh yeah, this is I'm really looking forward to that element. It's more just, I just want to see the Doomslayer rip and tear some stuff and have a shield that he can throw.
Yeah,
that's pretty much 95% of players, I think.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'll echo that. I won't be sitting there digesting the story and trying to put all the pieces together. I just want to fucking whack up some demons, and that's about it. Some really good, what they call the eliminations in them games.
Executions.
as usual.
No, I don't think they. I think they call them like
Jibs.
glory
Glory
kill,
kills,
isn't it?
yeah.
Or something?
Okay, no, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah, I want to see some like
Oh no,
ridiculous. What?
you froze. Chronic just cursed the stream. He said stream's been fine tonight, and then you froze. It's fine now.
That's
Carry on.
Chronic's fault. Yeah. Anyway, I just want to see some brilliant glory kills. And just all sorts of carnage. That's all I'm interested in personally.
I'm sure you'll get that.
Yeah, I'm sure as well. And Doom is actually one of the ones that was on my my top 3 that I'm looking forward to for the year. That's definitely up there. You two need to have a think about that as well and what yours are going to be. They can be the ones we've already mentioned, or they can be others. Next one on my list, just to move it along to the next game, on my top 3 most anticipated, I would say is Split Fiction. I'm still working my way through towards the end of It Takes Two, which is slightly outstayed his welcome now, I'll be honest. But like all of what's his face, Joseph Perez's games have been brilliant. I say, having played very few of them. I played a few of them. I've not played the prison one. You know, whatever that's called.
A Way Out.
Yeah, I've not played that one yet, but generally, I've really enjoyed It Takes Two, and they debuted Split Fiction at the Game Awards a few weeks ago. We all knew that he was working on another co-op game. We all knew it was coming, but it's going to be brilliant, right?
I'll just jump in and say, it's a me thing. I've never played any of these games. I've never had any friends, so I've not been able to play It Takes Two with anyone, or the A Way Out or No Way Out, or whatever that game's called. But I know that they're adored, right? So hopefully this is the one where I can manage to get a friend to play with me. But yeah, Luke, you want to jump on?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I've played all of his games actually, including A Way Out. A Way Out was like good. It's the weakest one out of that, and It Takes Two. Definitely the weakest story, I would say. It's a bit melodramatic in all the wrong ways. But the conceptually similar-ish to It Takes Two in terms of what it's trying to do, but the reason It Takes Two was so good was because it just, and we've spoken about this before, but it just gives, it just has a mechanic. You play with it for like 20 minutes and then it's like, right, you'll never see that mechanic again. Goodbye. Here's a new one. And it's got a massive diversity of environments. And effectively, I think those are the things that made that game so good and successful. And all Split Fiction is kind of a doubling down on that from its very premise to all of the mechanics that the trailer shows. And I didn't even really want them to show this much for the trailer because I feel like it shows so much. You know what I mean? Like I kind of wanted to be more surprised. So I try and just forget about it and look forward to the full game. But it's Joseph Fares, man. It's Hazelight are really talented and it just looks brilliant. Looks great.
And it is like it's quite rare to get games that are made for sitting beside someone on the couch and playing, right? Which is one of the reasons that it stands out so much. It has got that quality to it. I'm talking more about It Takes Two because obviously I haven't played this one yet. It's got quality in terms of mechanics. It's got quality in terms of visuals. It's got its pacing. It's a nice game, but it's also made for sitting beside someone. Even if you play it online, it doesn't change the format. It's still a split screen game designed to make you feel like you're sitting beside someone. And because that is such a rare thing and it is a nice experience, if you've got someone to sit with and play a game with, then it's ace. So it gets massive bonus points just for doing that. And I'm not saying I want every game to go back to the 80s and give you couch co-op options and all the rest of it, but just to get that one occasional gem that encourages you to play it that way makes it like an event for me. It's going to come out and it's going to be an event. It's going to be like, hey wife, here's a game we can play together. That's something that she can look forward to as well. So high on my list for those reasons. So that's 2 of my 3 taken up. I'm going to have to pick one more from a whole load of brilliant games that are remaining, but not yet. I'm not, because it's Darge's turn. Another game from your top 3, Darge.
I don't know, such a good list. Like, I know. I mean, like personally, I'd probably say Fable. I've been, we spoke about it last week, and I'm really intrigued. One of the biggest intrigues around it, upwards too, obviously, is to see what Playground create with the Forza Tech engine, which obviously looks promising from the trailers and the snippets we've seen. But also the humour. I want to see where they go with that. I want to see if they're going to lean into those castings of like Richard Ayoade and Super Hands and kind of go for that sort of dry British humour that kind of the original game did have. I mean, if we take away the farting and the kicking chickens and all that behaviour,
let's not go too far. We still want to kick chickens.
Well, you know, each to their own. But it's the tone. It's the tone that I'm looking to see what they come with. I hope it's got that dry British comedic, you know, tone about it. Obviously, I hope it's a quality product. Yeah, really looking forward to seeing more. I mean, Xbox the last 2 years, I think, early in the year, have done their developer directs, haven't they? So I'm hoping that in the next month or so, they do another one and give us like South of Midnight. Well, we'll talk about South of Midnight, but obviously these games in the pipelines start giving us dates for them and show us more of them and then go from there. But yeah, Fable is one that I'm really looking forward to, regardless of who I have to play as. What about you, Luke?
Yeah, I can't wait for this as well. As you say, I just the only thing about it is I just want to see like just some uninterrupted gameplay, because we've gone since announcement. You know, they've had multiple trailers, but we've never really seen just someone playing the game for 5-10 minutes. And not that I'm not worried about that, but it would be good to see it. Just to see what the moment to moment's like, especially the combat, because the combat looks really interesting in the very brief snippets they've shown. But I don't know how it actually plays. And obviously, it's a new studio doing a new team within an existing studio, doing a completely different genre, something way different to what the rest of the studio is doing. So I'm just really intrigued by it. I'm really excited, but I'm really intrigued. I think it will be really good. I don't really have any doubts about Playground, but we'll see.
Yeah, like it looks like the quality is there. We know that the studio is technically massively accomplished and can deliver something incredible in that sense. Darge, you mentioned there that like regardless of who you have to play as, and that is one thing that
I was just going to quickly jump on as well. You know what you say about Playground, and I mean those them characters and the voiceovers in Forza Horizon are fucking terrible. So that's the only thing. I mean, it's the most static, robotic looking characters and voices in those games. But like you say, yeah, I'm pretty sure they'll budget well for that.
But that's one of the things that sort of concerns me, because one of the things that was signature to Fable was that the character wasn't that well defined that you played as. You made that character whatever you wanted them to be, and the way that they were shaped physically and in any other way was determined by the way that you played it. And now they've got such emphasis on making these people look good, look properly motion captured, facially, like these are actors now. Are we still going to be able to play a character that we can shape in the same way? And it's like, it's not critical to it being a good game, but for me that is critical to it being a Fable game. So I'm wondering what direction they're gonna go with that, because those were the signatures of it. Like obviously Peter Molyneux had his trees that were going to grow in real time and all the rest of it. But I adored in Fable the fact that if I stayed indoors, then my character would be all pasty and white. If I went out in the sunshine, then they wouldn't. If they were an archer, they'd end up slender. If they held a big two-handed weapon, they'd get muscular and all that kind of stuff. If you kept eating pies, you'd get chunky. And like this made Fable for me because it's a system that was actually really well done. Like it doesn't get mimicked that much across the industry in the ways that I've always wanted it to be. Like Grand Theft Auto San Andreas did it a little bit, but like I want that for Fable. Go on, Daz, you were going to say something.
I was just going to say, like, with regards to the staying indoors and getting pasty and being outside and colour and, you know, staying the other. I don't know if you're going to get that, but like I say, with this whole thing today of like, being forced to do certain things, with regards to these RPGs, you know, just bring back the character creator. You know what I mean? And then just like you make your own character. Obviously, with Fable, with regards to the human nature of being good or evil, that was decided for you in the game. You know what I mean? But you got to create your character, so to speak, to a certain degree. With regards to those in real time elements you're talking about, don't know. Are they going to do that? I mean, I wouldn't go hoping that they would do that.
I'm sure hoping they do that.
Yeah, I mean, I hope Konami bring back a fucking Pro Evolution Soccer game that's worth playing, but it's not going to happen, is it? So, we have to get realistic sometimes. But I might be wrong. But like I say, character creation, chances are you're not going to play Fable and just choose to sit indoors all day, are you? I mean, you might, Asa, because I know what you're like. but most of us are going to be out there slaying. Luke?
Yeah, Luke, tell me, because obviously this is a thing that I appreciated about Fable, and it's not necessarily important to anybody else in the world. But am I just off my rocker? Does this matter at all, or is it part of Fable?
No, I think it is part of Fable. It was one of my favorite parts of Fable, but I think I was always really evil, and I really liked how it reflected your evilness in the look of your character, and it was just a super cool part of it. So I hope it's still in here, and hopefully they've expanded on it as well. But yeah, it's an interesting question as to whether they will, and whether they consider that crucial to the spirit of a Fable game. Because certainly in the trailer, a lot of the things in there are very emblematic of Fable games, which is clearly they hold the original trilogy in a lot of reverence. But equally, they may go, oh, that bit not so much. But I'd be surprised if they did that, because I think it felt fairly critical to be being in a Fable game, right? So I don't know. Maybe I'm hoping they finally put the acorn in there that you can plant.
Yeah, exactly.
Finally deliver the promise.
We did it, Peter. We did it.
Yeah. We finally did it, Peter. This one's for you. And go plant that acorn. I come back to it and it's a tree. So I'm hoping it's in there and there's an achievement for that. That would be funny.
It would. But I got to ask though, because you just said that you were evil in the Fable games, and there's multiple ways that you could be evil in the Fable games. You could just spam eat baby chickens, right? The crunchy chicks would make you evil if you ate enough of them. But what did you do that made you evil?
I just killed people. From memory.
Standard.
Just a horrible, a horrible killer.
Wait a minute, is that morally, is that not okay?
No, well, apparently not. But
didn't realise that was frowned upon. Oh, shit.
Yeah, so maybe stop that. But
you're gonna have to rethink.
That's what I did.
Right. So Fable, I mean, I'm glad you said that, Darge, because I would have been hard pressed not to put in that in my top 3, but now I don't need to because you've got it off the list. Luke, give me another.
We'll go for Ghost of Yotai. I think this is probably my 3rd most anticipated game. Maybe. This is just more Ghost of Tsushima. So I think if you enjoyed the first game, which many people did, then you'll probably enjoy this as well. It was actually quite a surprising game, I thought, the first game, because it doesn't do anything that's particularly unique in terms of mechanics, nor does it do anything that's particularly unique in terms of story, but it's all done so well that it adds up to this really incredible experience. And then you put on top of that the fact that it has this sort of unbelievable art direction and visuals and music, and you get like a really special experience. I think that's what most people who played it felt. I'm sure some people didn't, but and they've kind of just doubled down on it for this one, I think. Interesting that they've gone, completely, well, it's not surprising that they've gone a completely different protagonist, different time period, hundreds of years into the future after the first game, and just taken the kind of concept of the ghost and applied it to a new set of circumstances and new conditions. So I think this just looks great, and it's Sucker Punch, and I've never not liked Sucker Punch games, so I'd be surprised if I started now with it.
Fair. Darge, did you play the Ghost of Tsushima?
You were reluctant to talk to me, weren't you? No, I haven't played it. It's one. It's on my wish list on Steam, amongst many other things. Obviously, like when it came out and I see it, it's quality looking. People loved it. Like obviously, you've heard from Luke there that he loved it. I'm just wondering, like, is this? And when I say Assassin's Creed, I don't mean like for like, but do you think this Ghost series is going to be Sony's Assassin's Creed now, where it's like Ghost of Tsushima, Yotai, then goes to fucking Canning Town, like, and you know, like sort of go on.
Can't
You
wait
know.
for that one.
I've been referred to as the Ghost of Canning Town a couple of times, but like that's what I'm seeing here is a franchise, right? So
Yeah.
and the second one looks quality. It is something that I really do like. Obviously, we've got Assassin's Creed Shadows coming out, you know, soon. I do really like the sort of Chinese, Japanese culture, you know, that sort of stuff. You know, it does appeal to me and it does look beautiful. But as I say, as yet, I haven't been able to get around to playing it. So I can't really say I'm looking forward to it, you know, so to speak. What about you, Ace? Have you played the first one?
Well, see, I feel like a fraud if I put this one on my list because I have played the first one. I've put about 60 hours into the first one, but across 2 playthroughs. The first time I was playing it, I just fell off because I didn't want to cut bamboo and find hot springs. The game has a very like if you want to take it that way, you can play it very Ubisoft and you can have a checklist of activities that aren't that interesting. Right, and I resented that, but this is me in the way that I consume games. I'm not bitter at the inclusion of all of these activities, but I know that for myself to stay engaged, I need to kind of pick the good bits of the meal rather than explore everything and do the nasty bits on the side. Ghost of Tsushima, I was doing that, and then I completely fell off of it because I was doing too much, and I figured, actually, if I play this through and I just eat the good bits, so I play the core campaign and it has these legend stories that were a lot more kind of fleshy as side stories. If I just do those, then I'll get through it. And I was playing it and I put another like 40 odd hours into it, doing those legends missions, doing the things that were appealing, thinking this is great. I hate the stealth elements, but it doesn't force me to do it too often. I'm having a good time. Story's ramping up. The environment's like, there's some good weather. I love my weather, you know, and I'm having a nice time. And I get through a nice dramatic section. I'm like, oh, fuck, that happened. Oh, this is good. And then it said, chapter 2. And my heart sunk. And I realized that I had so far still to go. And I very quickly fell off of it again. So I've not finished Ghost of Tsushima because it's too big for my appetite. I've got through a couple of big games. Like I've done Cyberpunk, I've done Final Fantasy Rebirth. But some games are too big. And that game was too big for me, and I get that a lot of people love it, and I've seen what they love about it, and I understand. So this is just shame on my part.
It's quite interesting because I didn't think it was like that big. That's kind of one of the things I liked about it.
I've done it wrong.
It wasn't Assassin's Creed. It was like, you know, very.
Asa has a unique way of playing video games as well, Luke. At the start of Dragon's Dogma 2, he was told to go a certain way and he jumped off the cliff. Like, that's what we're up against here. Asa will go against instruction.
Yeah. I think
we love you.
Yeah, I think like I didn't mainline the game or anything like that. I did a lot of the legend stuff, which are the best bits about like the side stuff. But I think my like playthrough took me about 32 hours or something like that, and I don't think that's that big.
That's reasonable. I've done something wrong.
Yeah, so I think that's pretty reasonable. So I don't know what you were doing to like stretch it out where you've done 60 hours, but you're only in like chapter 2. I need to have video evidence of what you were doing in the game.
You're chasing the foxes endlessly.
No, I absolutely refused to chase the foxes. I refused to cut any bamboo. I had one bath in my playthrough.
Did you go against the wind? Did you go against the wind?
No.
You're in photo mode all the time. That's what it was, isn't it? You're just taking photos.
That is probably closer to the truth because I did do some videos on it. So some of my time was probably spent getting unnecessary footage recorded.
Yeah.
I'm really curious. I didn't know it wasn't that big. I might go back to it in the near future. I'll have to start again and I'll probably get to chapter 2 and fall off. Yeah.
Get back.
That's really interesting. I just assumed it was going to end up being like 100 hours, but you just told me it's 32, and now I feel like an idiot for dropping it. Okay, cool. Fuzzy Tomato says 80 to 100 hours if you do everything, but I was definitely not doing everything. I was very stubbornly refusing to chase any foxes or birds or...
What were you doing in this
I
game?
just, look... I don't know. I've got no idea what's gone wrong here. Never mind. Quick, Darge, save me. What's your next game?
I mean, we're doing honorary fucking shout out for Elden Ring, Night Rain game mode. Obviously, I'm still on the final boss of the main game without touching the DLC, but the Elden Ring community are quite excited about this Night Rain mode. You know,
is this a result of peer pressure? Are you mentioning this because otherwise people won't think you're cool?
Nah. I mean, I am cool. Look at me. I got a flat cap on. What's the matter with everyone? If you're wearing one of these, you just scream cool. Nah, but just in general, like when it was revealed, it was a surprise reveal, wasn't it, at the GTA, GTA. At the VGAs, they got people really excited. And also, like, From Software, obviously, do what they do, and this is something completely different. I don't really know too much about it other than what the trailer showed. I think it's a free player. You can either do it solo or do it in a team of 3.
Never two,
and it's
yes.
Yeah, never two. But yeah, so I think from my understanding is this kind of like you're in a rush sort of thing. That ring, that fire that you see in there is closing in on you and it's pushing you to a certain point. And there's just boss rushing and stuff like that. Is that right, Luke?
Yeah, it's kind of like a
battle royale of sorts.
Context, but it's not a battle royale, and then it pushes
you
in, and then you have to finish it off with boss fights each
be interesting it'd be interesting to see like what the length of a playthrough is in it, wouldn't it? You know what I mean? Like if it's what do you reckon, like 2 hours sitting, something like that, maybe hour and a half?
Yeah, I don't know. I like to do like a finished run or just
like a start to finish. Like I mean to get someone in a play session, can't be going more than 2 hours, can you? I mean, I can't go more than 5 minutes without going to the toilet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think I don't know if they said it was 3 nights was a full run. You have to do 3 nights or something like that.
Okay.
But I mean, the length is going to be difficult to know, I guess, because it's going to be massively dictated by difficulty. And if we know anything, it's that Elden Ring is a difficult, or can be a difficult game. So I can't imagine they'll hold any, like, pull any punches with the difficulty on this.
So Satama in the chat there has just put it's 3 days, and every day is 15 minutes apparently.
Oh, okay.
So 45 minutes maybe to an hour, something like that. But they've done some unique stuff there. I think the reason we brought this up as well is not because we're like Elden Ring purists, is because I think by the time this game drops, it's doing something completely unique that I think it'll be a big deal again when it launches. I've got a feeling that it's going to introduce new players in, because you see like the soaring ability one of them was doing there. You've got different character types. I feel like it'll be a good hit when it comes out later this year. Definitely, that's why I've brought it up.
Yeah. I'm really not sure about
justify myself.
You don't have to justify yourself. I want it to be good, and 45 minutes is quite reasonable. I can sit and go through it. I don't know a lot about this game, to be honest. Do you take a character through this 45-minute game session and then retain your progress for the next session? Are you finding people similar level and trunching through, or is it each one is like a start again from level 1?
I think it would just be a run, like where you just have things given to you throughout the run. You use them how you use them, go for a build type that you want to go for, and if it works, it works. And then, I don't know, I mean, Satama seems to be the guy at the minute. He seems to know, but he's saying there's a boss every day. At the end of every day, there'll be a boss battle. So by that logic, 3 bosses, 3/4. And then until we see more, I mean, like with regards to the progression, and stuff like that. I don't know if there's going to be a difficulty curve where, like you say, if you get through one run, you retain what you had and then rerun, and the difficulty goes up. Yeah, it'd be really interesting to see how it goes. But like I say, I think it'll be a big hit when it releases. 100%.
It's one of those.
Not sure about crossplay.
It's a slightly awkward dynamic to navigate, because the idea of like having it be kind of roguelike and you keep your stats and power and you get going and all the rest of it is quite appealing, but also makes it like significantly harder to play socially. It's significantly harder to find a group that are equivalent level and taking on the same kind of challenges as you. So in a sense, it'll be easier if it is like level playing field every time you go in. Just make it easier to make those connections and play. But
that's what Satama's saying there. He's saying it's pre-made characters, like defined classes, and then you've got to get a good balance. So you'll be trying stuff out. You know what I mean? It'd be good. I'm pretty sure it'll be a good experience. We'll have a go anyway between us three. We'll have a go. Asa will be going the wrong way. Asa will be running towards the fire whilst me and Luke are going the other way. But we'll have a go. But yeah, no doubt, Elden Ring Night Ray is going to be a big hit this year.
Yeah, interesting. I've got my doubts about it. I hope that it turns out really well. But
yeah, well, I mean, the purists might be revolted at the idea and boycott it. But we'll have to just wait and see, won't we?
We will wait and see, Darge. That we will. It's just like the wonder and the exploration that Elden Ring delivered on. It feels like that has to be stripped away for this thing to kind of make sense and work. And then I don't know how it stands up without it, but we'll find out.
It's a standalone title, though, isn't it? It's not like patched into. It's just piggybacking off of the title Elden Ring, but it's just a standalone game. So it's a completely different mechanic. Obviously, they'll just turn around to you and say, if you want the exploration, there's Elden Ring there, and the DLC. And if you don't want that, and you want to play with some pals and just, 45 minutes to an hour playthrough, there's this thing for you. They're trying something new as well, which is exciting to see,
Yes, Darge, I will remain optimistic. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. I can do my next one. Ready? With my top three. And this one I'm not confident in, but I'm interested enough that I'm going to mention it. I'm not sure if it's going to be really good when it comes out, but I cannot wait to see if it's really good when it comes out. And that is Expedition 33. Because it is, again, very unique in what it's doing and looks to be aiming for a very, very high standard. It's the turn-based RPG from I think they're a French studio. A big cast of pretty well-established voice actors. Very pretty looking game from what we've seen of the trailer. Very interesting premise for its story. But it is quite a unique thing, and it is not hitting a kind of a popular and well-established genre in a sense. It's hitting the like almost nostalgic turn-based Japanese RPG style combat that we don't see so much anymore. And I really, really hope that they pull it off. While I'm bringing up the trailer, Luke, you've seen this one, haven't you? Are you interested in this at all?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, I think it's hard. In some ways, it's hard not to be interested in this once you see the art style and the visuals. Like they immediately pull you in. Into wanting to find out more, and then when the sizzle of the gameplay started, and it was very clear it was a turn-based RPG, in the classic Japanese mold, I was like, oh, okay, I'm really digging this immediately. And then combined with like really interesting story premise, like really interesting, very different. As you say, the vocal cast is really strong. It's got Ben Starr in, because of course he's the new Troy Baker.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's got Charlie Cox in as well, from Daredevil. I think Andy Serkis is in there as well. So it's like a really strong cast with a really interesting story, great visuals, turn-based. Looks awesome. This like Belle Epoque art style, this like kind of early French Renaissance-y stuff is just super unique. It's not many games are doing what it's doing, which I really appreciate. So I guess it just depends on if it delivers moments, and moments to moment when you play it. Certainly everything they've shown so far, I'm really, really digging. So I'm curious to why you think it might not hit Asa. Like why you think it might not.
Just, it's only because the level of ambition from a studio that I don't know is high, and everything that's in the trailer is very tight and linear, and like it's spectacular. I love the environments that they've got in there. I can see a world where it turns out to be way too narrow for a turn-based RPG.
Yeah, it looks kind of and I don't know if I don't think they made this comparison, but I think they were talking about that it is quite a linear game. And it sort of reminded me of what's the one with lightning in FF13?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it reminded me of that in terms of like and that was a big complaint about that game, the linearity of everything for a turn-based RPG. I wouldn't mind necessarily in this, because I think the issue with 13 back in the day, at least, was that you came from a period where the Final Fantasy games were really quite open games to something that was much more corridor based, much more linear, and people really didn't like that. Whereas this is standing on, it's just a new thing. So I think being upfront with that is fine. It will depend on just how they deliver that. Like what, how long is the game? How varied is it? What's the combat actually like to engage with, and how powerful is the story? Because those are the things that will determine, I think, whether it's successful or not. But
Yeah.
I know what you mean. Like it's an unknown dev, like a new dev, basically, making what looks to be an extremely ambitious game, at least in terms of visuals and voice cast and all that sort of stuff. So we'll see. But I'm looking forward to trying it. And I think it's on Game Pass, right?
Yeah, I think it is, yeah. And it's funny you mentioned Final Fantasy 13, because I downloaded that last night. You're absolutely right. It got lambasted for being too linear at the time. And then the more those games have moved away, and especially after Final Fantasy 15, and it's not being linear, but being kind of terrible. I actually kind of want to play 13 again to see how it goes. But this one, Expedition 33, like the world that they show, the kind of shattered high fantasy landscape is begging to be explored. And that's what makes me look at it and go, oh, that looks amazing, but also really, really tight and really, really ambitious. But turn-based combat is not flavor of the month by any stretch. Like, people typically don't play the games for the combat in those kind of games, even when they were like at their high and you're playing your Final Fantasy 7s and whatever. It wasn't because the turn-based combat itself stood up as such. It was all about like the full combination of RPG systems that makes that work. And I don't know if this has got the full set of systems behind it to make that turn-based combat compelling or not. We can't know that until it comes out. I'm optimistic that it's brilliant. It looks phenomenal. All of the things that I said about it, I cannot wait to see, and I really, really hope that they do nail what they're going for, because it looks so interesting. But I just don't have confidence, because where would that confidence come from?
I'm not I'm not a big turn-based player as such, but like, this does look incredible, this game. Obviously, on your point of an unknown studio, obviously we've got Wukong and Game Science. No one really knew about them, and they kind of delivered like on what they were showing, so not beyond the realms of possibility that this does turn up. In regards to the linear nature, we'll have to just wait and see how that comes. But obviously, seeing that trailer again, I remember like the French Renaissance look that Luke was talking about. I remember seeing, I think Xbox showed this, didn't they, at their summer showcase? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like you say, if it's day one Game Pass as well, that's a win for Game Pass subscribers, at least, to give it a go, right? But yeah, it does look beautiful. And no doubt, if 1 or 2 days from launch people start bigging it up, I'll no doubt jump in and have a look myself, but yeah, keep open-minded, Asa. Some of these unknown devs can stick the landing, mate.
Mind is very open. That's why I'm acknowledging it could go either way, right? How open do you want me to be?
More.
More open. More open. That's my top 3. So let me establish and clarify what we've got there, because mine, I've had Doom the Dark Ages, Expedition 33, and Split Fiction. Those are my 3 that I'm most looking forward to, which is shocking because I cannot wait for Avowed and I cannot wait for Fable. Like, there are cracking games just below that tier for me as well. But those are my 3. Luke, what were your top 3 that you're looking forward to for the year?
Yeah, mine are DS2, Doom, well, and Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah, fair dues. Have you got any like honourable mentions that are just that slight bit below?
I got a lot. I mean, this is the thing.
You can't have loads.
Well, I do. There's many. One of the ones I'm actually really looking forward to is MGS Delta.
No,
which
that
is-
looks shite.
Yeah.
Come on now.
No, yeah, well, you would say that because you can't do stealth games, but we're not listening to you on this one. We're listening to me now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, MGS Delta is a big one. I've got renewed faith in Konami, which is very dangerous to have.
It's very, very dangerous.
Yeah, after Silent Hill 2. But they're in my good books at the minute, and everything they've shown of this looks great.
Wrong. Sorry.
No, shush. Particularly because they're not really messing with the original game. They're just, visually remaking it in UE5. So it's much more similar to something like The Last of Us Part 1 or Dead Space to a lesser extent, where the core game is the same.
Yeah.
But it's a big, facelift basically on what the game looks like. So again, it's Kojima being pretty esoteric. I think people, if you've not played any MGS games, the reason they went with this one, even though it was Metal Gear Solid 3, is because this one, in terms of timeline, is the first MGS game. So it's a good one to play if you want to get into the series, because it will set up any other Metal Gear Solid games that they may want to revisit.
Yeah, I think you bang on as well. Like, I think hopefully, like you say about the Konami situation, obviously they got Bloober to do Silent Hill and reap the benefits of that. I believe they're doing this one themselves, right?
Yeah, I think it's them, and it's another. I think it's like Virtuous Studios or something. I think it's like
Okay. Virtuous. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But like you say, hopefully, because fucking, I tell you, it's done Capcom a world of good, and it remaking these old classics, especially when the source material's there, and you just got to give it a modern day. Like I said the other week about the Soul Reaver games, for me personally, it's there. Give it that fresh perspective and lick of paint, So yeah, hopefully that one does. But I mean, we've got a little list here drafted up, and this without stuff, you'll get stuff announced early in this year that will come later in the year. I mean, it's going to be another banger year of games. My personal top three are probably DS2, excuse me, DS2, Fable, and Doom. But then when you say about honourable mentions, I mean, I could honourably mention every other game on that list, and someone out there
said you're not allowed to do that.
No,
yeah, I know. No, Asa. But well, without the exception of the Nintendo ones, personally, because I don't have a Nintendo platform, but that's just me. But like I say, South of Midnight is another one that I really want to see. Like, I'm quite ready for that. I'll jump into that day one, I reckon, because that looks like a bit of me, personally. Mm.
All right, let's do that. Let's talk about South of Midnight. Luke, are you also looking forward to South of Midnight?
Yeah, I am. I'm cautiously optimistic about it, just because Compulsion to me haven't really made a very good game yet. So they always tend to make games that are very artistically impressive, but they never really coalesce in terms of gameplay. This one, I think they'll get it right with this one, though, because I don't think this looks particularly special from a gameplay perspective, but it looks very competent and fun. You know what I mean? So, which is more than I can say for like We Happy Few or stuff like that, or Contrast, which I really didn't like. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to this. It's huge. It's got a really powerful like identity. This game, powerful voice, like very creatively driven, which I really really like. So it looks great.
I think did they say something about the stop motion animation, like the stop motion in this game? Did they say you could switch that off?
You can switch it off for the gameplay,
yeah.
Which is a massive relief to me.
I don't know. I kind of like the stuff. Well, mind you, like after an hour or so, I might switch it off. You know what I mean? But I like things that try new things, right? Do you know what I mean? So they're going for their own unique. Like Luke said, I never played We Happy Few personally, but they have this unique way about them. And they're going about this one. And it just look, from what they showed with the trailer and that, it looks. I think someone showed a gameplay segment as well, didn't they? I think it's like one of the outlets, like IGN or something, showed something. It does look really promising. So yeah, this is another one that I'll be jumping on this day one as well, I reckon.
Yeah, so the gameplay that they showed is playing at the moment that does have the stop motion. I found it really unpleasant to watch this when they revealed it and they had the stop motion gameplay. I like it in the cutscene when they're doing that, and it's just like, yeah, this fits. This is a style I can get behind. But when they maintained it into the gameplay, and
it's only the character though, isn't it?
It's only the character, but it just made it unpleasant to me. And
yeah.
But then I can turn that off. So I've got nothing to whine about. I should stop whining. I can turn it off. But it does look kind of like, I can't even say that it looks better than Kena Bridge of Spirits. It looks like the same game to me.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's got that kind of similar high budget, great art, action adventure feeling, like kind of simplistic, but
yeah, quite small scope, highly polished art, and you make flowers when you win. So it's just it's the same game, right?
I mean, it could be a sequel, right? I mean, just the same.
It's not that high on my list of things that I'm looking forward to. I'll give it a chance, but We Happy Few was my favourite stealth game of all time. I'll have you know, it wasn't.
You know, just thinking, I'm just looking at this list, and you know what ain't come up, and it was shown ages ago. Contraband. Like, what has happened with Contraband?
Who knows?
What's happened with Contraband?
It just made me think.
Wonder Woman, and there's a bunch of things like it, right?
No, but Contraband was fucking revealed years ago. Like, it was like one of the first projects.
Yeah.
Was it?
I think it was probably like they might literally have been at the same show. I could be wrong on that, but
I hope you are, because it'd be nice to be right for once.
You're still right, Darge. It's been a long time and we've seen nothing of it. Who knows? Maybe that will resurface this year. Maybe it won't.
Do you want to talk about Avowed? Because there's a few people.
I want to talk about Avowed. Let's talk about Avowed. I can't wait for Avowed. Avowed was really close. Yeah, Avowed was really close to making it to my list of top 3. Apart from the fact that Fable is also there, fitting the same kind of high fantasy thing, but I loved the Outer Worlds. It was really, really good, and the fact that it's a smaller RPG suits me just fine, because apparently I misjudge the length of games all the time and don't know what I'm doing. But I really liked the character rating in that and all the rest of it. I wish that I could say that I've played all of the Pillars of Eternity games to know whether this is a world that I find particularly compelling or not, but I know that I like their writing and I know that I like their style, and I'm happy with everything that I've seen about Avowed. A lot of people weren't happy with the way that it looked when they revealed it, because there was some color grading issues on the trailer and all that kind of stuff, but it looks great to me and I cannot wait to play this one. Luke, what is, like, if you had to give like a little overview, because you played both of the Pillars of Eternity games, what separates this universe from like a Skyrim or a Lord of the Rings or a Dungeons and Dragons?
I think the role that gods play in this universe is far greater than any of the others. And I don't want to get too much into the weeds of that, but that's kind of like one of the primary hooks. And I'd also say, I mean, I don't know if it separates from the others, but at least the Pillars games were a bit more dark fantasies, particularly the first one, than something like Skyrim. Not so much Lord of the Rings, really dark fantasy actually. But so those are the things that separate it. At the same time, I wouldn't say it's like so different that it's, you know, extremely unique. Ultimately, it's still just a fantasy / dark fantasy universe with all the normal things you would expect. But what I do like about this one, which I hated originally for some reason, was that the more that they've shown this game, the more I appreciate the art direction that they've gone for in this game, which is they've kind of tried to brighten it up a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really like that at first, because one of the things I loved about Pillars was that it was very, very dark, but then you had these kind of moments of really beautiful, like colorful, fantastical fantasy environments. And this game just looks all like that, at least from what they've shown.
Mm-hmm.
But the more that they've shown of it, the more impressed I've been with it, and the more I appreciate the direction they've gone to try and kind of like differentiate themselves from other stuff that's out there. It's looks really nice. The last, like, it's looked better and better each time they've shown it. And the last one they did, when they had like people go out and play it and stuff, I thought it looks fantastic. Actually, really nice.
So, a two-part question, because one of the main negative bits of feedback that people had with Avowed based on the earlier gameplay and mixed responses on whether it's changed over time or not, but was the quality of the combat and whether that holds up, whether it's responsive, whether it's dynamic, and all of these kind of things. So the two-part question is, one, like, are you confident that it's going to play well when it comes out? And the second part of it is does it matter? Because most of the games in this genre, like your Skyrims and Oblivions, they don't have good combat. So where are you sitting with the combat in Avowed?
I'm quite optimistic about it now that hands-on impressions have come out, because everybody that I looked at that played it said the thing that they were pleasantly surprised by was the combat, and that actually it doesn't necessarily demo well in terms of a video, but when you're hands-on with it, it's actually very, very fun and very snappy and responsive. Really good feedback from anything that you're doing in terms of combat. So I think combat does matter. It's not the most important part of these games, but I think they'll have a real leg up on every other game if they can get the combat right with it, which it seems like they are doing. I mean, it seems like it's good. They've also got like parkour in it from the videos. So you can like leap over obstacles. You can like leap. There's quite a lot of verticality in the game, which is really interesting and not something that would ever associate or say would be necessary in a game like this, but they've gone for it. So I think they're doing some interesting stuff. Like, it's ambitious in its own way, even if the scope is narrow.
Yeah, I can't wait for it. Darge, you when we mentioned Avowed, you just got out your seat and was like, I'm not having any of this. I'm getting out of it. Talk about this without me. Does it upset you? Why are you so upset by Avowed? What have Obsidian done to hurt you?
I thought I've got a bladder like a hamster. So when I've got to go, I've got to go. And I thought you two would be quite happy to talk about Avowed. It's not that I mean, I like the Outer Worlds. I enjoyed that, and this seems like going to be the Outer Worlds, but with like a mystical, medieval-esque sort of coat of paint over it. Like I say, in regards to the is it Pillars of Eternity universe, I've got no experience with that whatsoever. But Obsidian are like Microsoft's Insomniac, kind of, right? Like, they haven't missed yet, I don't believe. Even Pentiment, which wasn't a drop of me at all personally, but I mean that game had its fans, and they openly admitted it was a small project out of there. So I mean, Obsidian are just going to do Obsidian things, and if this is the outer worlds, with a sword and a shield, I'll definitely be checking it out for sure. I have no doubt. I mean, it's another one of those where you can recruit companions to join your party and stuff like that, right? So you sort of squaddy based. Yeah, it looks promising. Like I say, I've got no prior relationship other than Outer Worlds with this, but Obsidian aren't missing at the minute. So yeah, I'll be there.
Good. Darge, you mentioned that you weren't interested on the list in any of the Nintendo games.
I weren't.
And I'm looking at the list.
About one now.
Well, I'm looking at the list, and the only clearly Nintendo game that I can see on the list that Luke put up is Metroid Prime 4. But it begs the question, because Nintendo isn't just games this year. Nintendo is surely the successor to the Switch that they're supposed to be announcing in the next, like, few weeks, month, whatever. Like, coming soon, we're going to get information on the next Switch. That presumably has to mean games are coming as well. It's been a while since we had a mainline Mario game. Mario Kart 8 is getting long in the tooth. Like, have you got a little bit of excitement deep in your heart for what Nintendo are doing this year?
Yeah, like, I don't. It's not like I'm anti-Nintendo, right? I was just. Excuse me. I was just.
You hate Metroid because the protagonist is a female.
How did you know? No, I never, the Switch, as amazing as it was, I just never had the need for one. But Mario Kart is Mario Kart, right? Like, you can just have fun with that game for hours. But my little lad, he loves Mario Wonder and stuff like that. So the Switch 2 will definitely get bought in here. And then when it is the actual dockable one to the TV, or however they're going to go about that, I'll definitely jump into some of these like Breath of the Wilds and Tears of the Kingdom and stuff like that, and have a look at them as well. But as you say, you know, if it's new hardware, there's going to be new software, right? And Mario Kart 8, I think, is like one of the best-selling games of all time, right? It's not one of the best, because obviously you've got like Tetris and stuff like that, but current, like, it's
done
been
alright for
rinsed.
itself.
Yeah, it's been rinsed out. So, you know, and the rumours, obviously they're rumours, but like the hardware is going to be comparable with, is it PS4, Xbox One, the handheld in terms of power for Nintendo? That's a nice jump. So yeah, it'd be really interesting to see what they bring out. Obviously, there's the Donkey Kong Country remaster that's coming for the Switch now. Hopefully, there's backwards compatibility. You know, but yeah, I'll definitely be getting the Switch too. 100%.
100%. Fair enough. Luke,
100%.
you put Metroid Prime 4 on this list.
Yeah.
Is it good? Are you excited for that one? Are there other Nintendo things that you think might surprise us this year?
Yeah, I'm very, very much looking forward to Metroid Prime 4. The original trilogy by Retro was incredible. I think they're an incredible studio. They're one of the most underrated studios probably in all of gaming. And it's been a long time since they've made a video game. So the last one they did was Tropical Freeze Donkey Kong, which was many, many, many years ago. And they're working on this. So I expect it to be very good. In terms of other Nintendo, like I'm really looking forward to the Switch 2. Mario Kart, obviously everybody and their mother will buy that game because it's just fun. I'm really looking forward to hopefully getting a new 3D Mario this year, because I know our views are opposed on this, but Odyssey is an incredible game to me. So you know, getting a new 3D Mario with a new gimmick, and hopefully for you some kind of mute button for Mario.
Oh, yes, please. That would make such a difference.
That would make a big difference. So just play it with the volume off. Just don't have the volume on. It's like a silent.
It was like an affront to the art to take a game and turn like a critical facet off.
It's got great music as well, so it's always hard to.
Is that the last one? Is that the last one? Odyssey, the last
3D one. Yeah.
Maybe they're due one then. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're well overdue one by now. But equally, I don't know. I think it'd be really interesting to see what they launch with, because I think we're due that. We're clearly due a Mario Kart, but do they launch with both of those games? Do they? Because they don't need to. They might hold one back for a little bit. Personally, I think it'll launch with Mario Kart, because I think that's the easiest one to bring people over if it's not cross-gen. Like, we don't know about that, but
I was going to say, Luke, do you think that they'll launch with a Power World clone?
Signed an exclusive deal for Power World 2. I'd be interested to see if they do launch with a Pokemon game, though. Like or around, you know, this year at least. So maybe there'll be a Pokemon game. They could launch with. They could have a very limited launch, to me, in terms of software, and it would still sell extremely well. And I would still buy one at launch for that. But it's been so long for some of these franchises that they must have these games ready, or very close to being ready. So I think they're going to be, you know, they won't want another Wii U, which had a relatively sparse launch. I think they want to get off to a hot start with it. So I think they will, in addition to Metroid Prime, obviously, which is they've already confirmed is cross-gen, that's coming to the Switch as well. I think Mario Kart and some other stuff that they'll probably surprise us with.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I want to Switch.
We need that Duck Hunt remake.
I don't need a Duck Hunt remake, I'll be honest. I'm all right without that. But I do want the Switch 2, even for the catalogue of games that are already there on the Switch, because they have said that it's going to be backward compatible, at least to some degree, if it can get me better performance on on them Zelda games I haven't played, then that'll make my life better when I do get to them. I want to know, last thing, people that are here, by the way, I don't think we've had any questions in yet, so if you've got anything that you want us to talk about that we haven't, stick it in the Q&A box, because we're going to get to those really soon. Before we do though, I want to know, Darge, I know you've got an answer for this. I don't know if you remembered that you got an answer for this, but I want to know if there are any games that you think might come out this year that are perhaps under people's radar at the moment. Any surprise entries?
Well, I brought up that routine, didn't I, just from that initial trailer. I really liked the tone that they were going for in that trailer, and I've not heard anything else as far as I'm concerned. I don't know, maybe Luke's got his ear to the ground a little bit more than me, but yeah, I'm really hoping. I think that was 2 Summer Game Fests ago, that trailer reveal for routine. So it's been like 18 months. I want to see more now. You know what I mean? I don't really know too much about it. I'm assuming it's going to be a first-person sort of survival, Luke. Is that sort of right? Like sort of survival or action sort of story-based, but the setting, the tone is showing the trailer there. Routine is one that's still on my wish list without a release date. But yeah, I'm hoping to see more and hopefully get hold of this game before the year's end. Have either you two clocked this, or does it intrigue you at all? I know Luke knows a bit.
Go for it, Luke.
Yeah, no, I've like I had mentioned earlier to you that they announced this literally like 2012, and it went dark for so many years. They had like development issues, they had publishing issues, like funding problems, all sorts of weird stuff. And I just thought it was dead. Like I thought it was dead, and it was probably, I think it's probably the most surprised I've ever been at a trailer at a show, because it just popped up out of nowhere at Summer Games Fest. And I'm really looking forward to it, because I remember back in the day, this looked very visually impressive, like back in 2012. And they've kept that going clearly in the development. So it still looks very visually impressive and just very atmospheric and creepy, all of the things that it looked back in 2012. So I hope that it comes out this year, but I don't think you take anything for granted with this game, because like just the development has been so wild. So I'll have to see, but it looks really cool.
So it's funny you mentioned that you hope that it comes out this year, because my sneaky under the radar game that people haven't really don't seem to be aware of at all, no noise around it, may come out this year, may not, is Grand Theft Auto 6. It's just blown under the radar. Nobody's like looking forward to it or anything like that. Darge, this year or next?
Yes, sir.
When are we getting
it? I was going to reply to Nate just then in the chat, 'cause he said, "Oh no, I've I've believed that it was the fact that we hadn't seen anything all last year. I'm pretty sure that the trailer for it was either at the start or at the back end of 2023. It's telling, right? Because Rockstar just don't put stuff out. Like they'll put out when they're ready. They're like the only ones who sort of semi get away with it. Like their fan base are clamoring at the walls, for some news and stuff like that. So I don't know. I don't think they're definitely not going to drop another trailer and then give you a release date like within fucking 6 months of it. So I think I can see it pushing out personally. That's why I'm looking forward to it. You know what I mean? Like for what we see and everything like that. But I just think for me personally, not seeing anything of it last year was quite telling. Or for as long as we haven't seen anything more about it, is quite telling of where they are. They're starting to whip up the flames, so to speak, with that initial trailer. It's quite a lengthy one, got people talking, and that's one of the only games where people ain't going to forget, and people are going to want more and more and more from them. But yeah, I hopefully I'm wrong. I'll eat this hat alive if it comes out this year. But yeah, I don't think it will come this year. What do you reckon?
You, Luke, what do you reckon?
It's really difficult, isn't it? I mean, history suggests with Rockstar that it will not come out this year. But it's made, history is made to be changed and broken. So maybe they will. Maybe they'll deliver. I'm optimistic that they'll hit it this year, but I don't know. Like literally no clue.
It'd be funny though, because of like some of the games like we've spoken about, like Fable and obviously Assassin's Creed's coming earlier and that, but people try and steer clear of GTA. You know what I mean? Because it will dominate. So yeah, maybe that's why these games haven't got release dates yet. Some of the ones we're talking about, there's no fixed date because they're all still sort of waiting on Rockstar. But
yeah, I think they are. I think a lot of them are just they're committed. They know they will release this year, but they're literally waiting for some kind of indication from Rockstar. What month GTA is going to hit, if it's hitting this year. So
I think it'll be a busy summer as well. Like usually summer's a bit dry. I think if Rockstar haven't shown anything by like March, I think a lot of these games are going to try and get out the traps in the summer, hoping that at earliest it will come sort of in the fall/winter, and at least their game can get out and sort of get a little bit of playtime, before GTA comes and just dominates. But yeah, definitely. That's why a lot of these games ain't got fixed dates yet, and I guess we'll have more of an indication around what's going to happen with GTA once they start getting dates. Because if there's any inkling that GTA is coming in the summer, you best believe that like Fable ain't going to launch day one alongside it,
Mm-hmm. Okay, well in that case, GTA 6 isn't my under the radar secret game that nobody's heard of. I'm going to change it to Monster Hunter Wilds, which also nobody has heard of whatsoever.
Hang on. Hang on, just quickly though. I know what you're doing. Yeah, you're trying to avoid it. Yeah. What do you reckon?
I don't care. My gut says delayed. My Take-Two fiscal updates say it's coming out this year. That's the thing with it, is it's they're going to be under immense pressure to hit the deadline that they've got set, because that game is it's landmark for us as people that like to play games, but it's landmark for Take-Two's share price and fiscal results and all the rest of it as well. So I'm not sure. They're not going to release it in a bad state. So I think Take-Two will be relatively resilient to that kind of pressure. But I think a lot of people at Rockstar are going to be working weekends. I don't think there'll be any of this the industry doesn't like crunch kind of approach for GTA. Okay, it'll come out. It's going to release at the end of this year. They're going to do it. Some people are going to die in the making of that game, but it's going to happen. If you must know.
Portent of things to come.
I'm afraid so. Yeah, I'm afraid so. Okay, fine. We won't talk about Monster Hunter Wilds. Luke, is there anything else that you wanted to bring up before we go into the questions that we've got?
I'm quite looking forward. Well, I'm looking forward to it, but I'm very interested to see more of Marvel 1943, which is a really interesting project.
There's loads of games in there.
Yeah, Amy Hennig's new game, and it's Skydance Interactive. I think that's who she works for now.
Yep.
And it's been shown off a bunch of I think it was shown off at the Game Awards or Summer Game Fest, and then they used it on stage. And Amy Hennig was there for one of Epic's Unreal Engine conferences, to kind of demonstrate the power of the engine and all this stuff. But they've not actually shown any gameplay. And some of the stuff that she's talking about recently in terms of the audience she's trying to cultivate for this game is not filling me with the greatest of confidence as to how you will play this game, like how interactive the game will be.
Elaborate. What she said.
So she was talking about she wanted to bring in a lot of non-video game players to this game, and the moment that comes up, I get kind of red flags, because I'm like, that can either mean that you want it to be so visually realistic that people take notice immediately and don't actually realize it might be a game and are interested and engaged,
or it's a Connect game.
Or it's a Connect game. Yeah, or it's like the Marvel equivalent of like a Quantic Dream game. And I'm not saying Quantic Dream games aren't great and I don't enjoy them, but I think that they work because the format is not based around existing characters and universes that we're aware of, and it's not based around comic book characters, which is supposed to be all about action. So, that's the joy of it. So I more than any other game on this list we have, I really want to see what it looks like when you play the game to know, because I think people are expecting, oh, it'll be like, you know, Uncharted in terms of gameplay, and I'm looking at it thinking, I think it'll be more like a less interactive The Order 1886 or something like that. So I don't know. Like it looks incredibly impressive, and if the final product looks like this, it will be one of the most impressive games ever made. But I need to see how it plays.
Yeah, I'll back that as well. I mean, I'm kind of marveled out now. Do you know what I mean?
Very much.
So it's going to have to be doing something pretty special for me to go, yes, I want to get stuck into this. I mean, like you say, it's an action adventure game where you control the captain and Black Panther. But yeah, until we see more, I don't know. Sure, it'd be good though. Amy Hennig's there, right? And she did Legacy of Kain, so
yeah,
I'm pretty sure it'll be okay.
I think at least in terms of story and character, it will be very good.
But she
the other stuff.
She was behind the Uncharted as well, though, right? Wasn't she? Before your man come in and got busy.
Big Neil, yeah.
Big Neil Druckmann come in and flexed. But yeah, a game I'm just going to quickly jump in because I just want to get this game as well. Game that we haven't really mentioned is Judas for me. Being a big fan of BioShock, like I am, and obviously that Ken Levine is behind this one. I'm really... this will be day one, regardless. But I'm really intrigued to see more and more of this game. It's another one that ain't got a fixed date. Is that right? There's March 2025, but...
Oh, was it March as soon as that? Yeah, look, off. I'm all right.
Yeah, it does say release by March, but I mean, things get pushed, right? But I mean, I always found with BioShock, particularly, the abilities on the left, excuse me, firearms on the right, it was just, I love BioShock so much, and the world that was built there. So it'd be really interesting to see, because this one's got like it's got like a sort of time loop mechanic to it as well. Is that correct? I do remember where you
I know it's got a modular story, like building blocks that will be different depending on choices you make and all the rest of it to change your playthrough player by player. But
I'm sure there's a part in the trailer where you can go back and I don't know, maybe it's like you say, building blocks in one way and this, that, and the other, but I'm pretty sure there's like, you can keep repeating, not like Deathloop, for example, but like that sort of thing is happening where she's like, she keeps going back, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. So just interested to see more, obviously, with my experience with BioShock and stuff like that. I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah, Luke, on your radar?
Yeah, it's Ken Levine. I really enjoyed all the BioShock games. Well, including 2, which Ken Levine didn't make, but and it looks very, very ambitious narratively. I do find it funny that Ken Levine left Take-Two or 2K, one of the two, I can't remember, because he was getting sick of AAA development and wanted a smaller team, and then he ended up building a massive AAA, like a big AAA team, to make a kind of spiritual
BioShock 4,
yeah, the BioShock, yeah. So I think that there's a great dose of irony that's gone with that, but nonetheless, I'm very excited for it, and I think it looks even weirder than BioShock, and I mean that in a really good way. So I don't know if it'll hit this year, but if it does, I think it'll be very good.
Excellent. Yeah, no, there's a ton of games this year. So the last thing before we go into these questions, and I'm getting a sense from what I'm seeing in the conversations that some of the questions haven't come through. So if you submit a question and it's not there when we get to it, then my apologies. If you're not sure if you submitted one near the start of the show, then it might be worth resubmitting it, because I'm not sure that they landed. Still, loads and loads of games coming in 2025. Is this a step up from that dire 2024 that we were talking about last week? This is a silly question. It's just going to be another brilliant year, isn't it? But I don't know. Is it even better? Are there any dry patches in this year?
Well, we don't really, like I say, nothing's really got a fixed date yet because of GTA. So when the games start lining up, coming out, and then again, is it going to be? It depends how these games land, doesn't it? Like Wukong, there was a lot of questions around Wukong, and it hit the ground running, basically. Whether at the end of the day, Wukong done well. There's a lot of success stories from this year, that last year, fucking hell. With regards to this year, like you say, we didn't even talk about Exodus. Exodus is another game with the ex Mass Effect team and stuff like that. So there's a lot of promise for this year, put it that way. Whether or not they all stick the landing, if they do, then by the end of the year, we'll all be saying what another great year it's been.
I'm confident of that. Not that every single one is going to land, but I'm confident we're going to get to the end of the year and we'll do another annual show and go, wow, that was another good year. But can't see it going any other way. Luke, I mean, this is just a horseshit question, so by the time one of the questions come in, I'll be honest. But what do you reckon? Better than 2024?
Yeah, I mean, at least on paper, for sure, right? I don't think anybody can look at that and go, well, that's not better than this year. And that's not doing last year, rather. And that's not doing a disservice to last year, because it ended up being, I think, a far better year for games than most people expected coming off 23, which was kind of an all-timer great year for games. But that list, if everything hit, even if everything didn't hit, if the majority did, and it was all at the level we expect, surely that's got to be as good as 23, right? Like, that's got to be up there. So yeah, I think it will be, as you say, I think we'll get to the end of the year and be like, wow, what a year for games that was. And then we'll be questioning whether 26 can in any way conceivably match it. So
we'll have all the showcases in between here and then when we're playing the games, which will be lining up the next years and beyond. And yeah, that's why I said about my backlog. Like, I'll just get to them when I get to them now, because it's just relenting these days.
Yeah, so I like the way that you framed it, Luke, though, because that's like a more excuse me, like feasible to answer kind of framing of the question. Like, is this year as exciting as 2024 was going into it? Like, the feeling going into the year, how does that compare? And you're saying that from that perspective, it looks like an even bigger year coming.
Yeah.
Pretty damn exciting. Do like the games, although I will say there are still so many games from 2024 that I would consider must play for myself personally, things that I have to play before I die that I didn't get to. So I would appreciate it if it would all just slow down a little bit at some point, so I get some time to go back to some of those. Never. It bloody well won't, will it? Never. It might. The industry might go to shit at any minute. It might. So let's do our questions, because the first one is already up. First one, and this isn't so much a question, but I'm going to read it. Hey, Darge.
Oh, yeah. How's it going?
Yeah, that's it. That was the read. That was the whole. I'm going to assume that this one was one of those, like, wrote in the wrong box. It was supposed to be in the comments. That was from Omatoni. And yeah, I think it's pleased to see you, Darge. Let's have the next of the questions. It's Omatoni, and I suspect it's what he meant to put in there. Anyone else watching Solo Leveling Season 2 today as it launches? Shows like this in Shangri-La Frontier get you excited for a connected AR VR gaming future, and how's the treadmill these days? So I haven't watched Solo Leveling. I've heard people talk about it being one of the better recent animes to get into, but I haven't touched it at all. Have either of you seen any of that?
No, sir.
No, so I'm afraid not on that one, but I'm very excited always for the AR VR gaming future, and my treadmill is not getting enough use. My VR time is limited, and I've been playing Triangle Strategy, which is not a treadmill game by any stretch of the imagination, because it's a tactics, move people around a board kind of game. I actually thought going into the holidays, so between like Christmas and New Year and that, when my usual array of sports are on pause, I thought I'll compensate by spending hours a day playing VR games on my treadmill, and I didn't play a single one in that little time frame because my capture card broke, my PC was a mess, I had to set up for this podcast, and just things got in the way. But the treadmill was still brilliant, and I will be on it as soon as I can. The next question is from Replicant. Will we see any form of Xbox hardware announcement in 2025? Maybe a hybrid for 2026. So, are we expecting Xbox hardware in the coming year?
I think you're going to get, because if you're going to get anything out of Xbox this year, maybe the handheld. But who knows? I mean, they came out, right, and said they're not doing any mid-gen upgrades or stuff like that, right? So they're sort of sticking with the consoles that are there. I wouldn't include, a diskless, larger hard drive as, hardware, so to speak, So, yeah, either they'll announce a handheld or that they've managed to get xCloud on stair lifts or something, like, it's just... something like that, mobility scooters or something like that. That's a big win. Mate, hope out for the who's replicant asked that. Hope out for the mobility scooter version of xCloud rep. That's my bet, mate.
Fair enough. You got any other expectations, Luke?
Yeah, I think it's maybe still a bit early for them to announce new hardware. I think that handheld is still quite far away. And in fact, they keep saying that it's very far away, and people refuse to believe that. But I think they're genuinely honest about that. That they clearly want to make a handheld. They are making a handheld, but that it's going to take time to nail the hardware spec, and the software side of it in particular is probably a minefield for Microsoft, depending on what their ambitions are in the next generation. So I think I would be surprised if they announced hardware this year. I'll end it with that.
Yeah, I'm going to say the same because the prices don't allow for it. I think if the landscape were different and it were possible to release a console at a console price to supersede what we've already got, then it would be a different outcome. But you can't.
Yeah.
Like the Xbox Series X still costs just as much as it did when it came out. So we can't have anything new until that changes. I'm sure in terms of their roadmap and their planning, obviously they have to look further ahead than what the prices are today. But I do think their initial roadmap has shifted over the last few years as a result of what's happened in the component industry and all the rest of it. So no, I don't think we're going to get a new Xbox this year. I don't think we're going to get a handheld. I don't think we're going to get a console. I don't think we're even going to get a different coloured glitter in the top end Series X console or whatever they did when they introduced the green glitter this year. Yeah, so 2026 though, yeah, we'll get something out of them, I would think.
Do you think 2026 is when they start the next generation, do you think, with improved hardware then?
Yeah, I think generally, like, generation is an antiquated way of looking at it from Microsoft's perspective. I just think that's when there'll be more powerful hardware available. I don't think it's going to put an end to support for the Series consoles or anything like that. Yeah, that's what I think. Again, though, with the console prices being the way they are, it's a difficult little thing for them to navigate. So, the next question is already out, which is from Skill and Panache. Craig, what do you want from open world games in the future? Personally, I want fully realized interior environments. Imagine Cyberpunk if you could force your way into any building. What would you like to see specifically in open world games as a massive advancement to move them forwards? Luke?
I think more systemic stuff is my answer.
It's a good answer.
So, yeah, I think that's the most interesting thing that open world games can do, and very few do it very well. Some do, but yeah, having like a cyberpunk style world, just as an example, but having lots of systemic stuff happening in that world, would be really cool. That would be really cool. So that's and in fact, that's one of the things I want The Witcher 4 to do, because I think CD Projekt Red can pull that off. So that would be the main thing for me. That, and if they could somehow have more destruction in these worlds, that would be.
We're on the same page.
Yeah.
What about you, Darge?
Those are the interesting things.
They are the interesting things. Make all the difference.
Great.
I think we're all on the same page with like that Battlefield level of destruction to a certain degree, like, but as far as I'm concerned, Cyberpunk is like, like obviously the version I got to play, the more finished version, in regards to an RPG as such, like, I just loved that world, being in that world. If you give me more destruction, cool. But I mean, I loved Cyberpunk so much. It's kind of like the pinnacle for me personally. But yeah, more destruction's always fun, right? So probably just say the destruction like everyone else. Hopefully someone's listening.
Yeah, I mean, I want some of that. The systemic stuff, like Luke says, is brilliant. Like a less of a focus on things being dotted around a map that you have to go to your exclamation point. Don't really want to go to an exclamation point. I want a city or world that has shit happening that I can get involved in. Would make it great, but also more bugs. Love some open world bugs. Last time I was playing Cyberpunk, and this was the current, not the very most recent version, because I think they've done a little update in the last couple of weeks or so, but 2 point something I was playing, and I was in one of the taxi rides that it has, so you're just sitting there being chauffeured by an NPC that's taking you on some particular quest route. We're driving along having a little conversation and got absolutely T-boned by a random car that sent it flipping out all over the place, which is fine. I was with the character, like Detective River, whatever he is, and he just carried on talking like nothing was happening while our car was rolling. It got back on the road and corrected itself, but for the rest of that journey, none of the traffic was responding as if we were there. So everything was just smashing into this car, and River was just doing his little dialogue, having a little conversation, and you just be like, oh, that's really smash, that's really interesting, smash, and it was so funny. And then he got to the end of his conversation, it's like, hold B to like skip the rest of the drive and get to your destination. Like, hell no, this is comedy gold. I'm going to watch this little just smash. So more bugs, that's what I want in my open world games. They make them. They don't, but that's a sign of systemic things that, you know, the bugs are inevitable consequence if we all get what we want, and I love it. I love a bit of bugs, that kind of bugs, not the ones that make you have to go back and load your save point, you know. Next question is up. Will Xbox have another business update stream this year? It's like, hell yeah. You mean like, oh, we fucked up and we need to do like the weird podcasty, like, sorry guys, this is our business update to set fan expectations, as opposed to like an actual business update stream for business reasons. Do you think, basically then, reframing this question to get at what Replicant is really asking, do you think Xbox are going to piss off their fan base enough that they need to do one of these like set expectations events?
No, I don't think so. I think the only reason that excuse me, that business update one is because when the acquisitions were being signed off, it was like, look what we're giving you, yeah. And then it was like, as quick as they were giving them, it was like, we're giving them away. Because it was around those first 3 games, wasn't it, that were going to, or 2 games or whatever, they were going over to PlayStation, and the fan base demanded answers. And you know, I mean, even if they did give us a business update, Rep, I mean, I'm pretty sure there'd be people on Twitter telling me why it'd be good business anyway. So, you know, if they do or they don't, I don't think they will. I think they'll just stay super quiet now. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it depends how you look at it. But for me personally, Xbox they love putting their foot in it. Like all the time, I think silence is golden. They need to just stay quiet now. Like you say, if next year, 2026, is when the hardware's coming, keep shut until then. And let the games just keep coming. And then yeah, see, I can't see it. I mean, he's saying there he's waiting for Master Chief Collection to hit Switch 2.
Mm-hmm. So I got a correct read on the question. I knew what he was getting at. Luke, do you reckon Xbox or anybody else in the industry is gonna like upset a vocal part of their own fan base?
I don't think so. But you never know, right? I guess I don't think Xbox can upset the fan base anymore, at least in terms of games being in other places. I think they've been clear at this point that they'll just do that. They think it's good, and clearly they do. So I think that's the maddest people can get at that, at something a console manufacturer does. So I think the only other thing was if we were getting massive rumors that they were going out of hardware altogether, but we know obviously they're not doing that. So the other ones, I mean, Sony could have that moment, I guess, if they started bringing stuff to Switch too, but I don't know. Like a lot of these companies aren't like as front facing as Microsoft are.
No, I was going to say Sony would ignore their fan base anyway, right?
So Sony just be like, just don't care. So and I don't think they would do that anyway. But I think Xbox are one of the only ones, for better or for worse, that are fairly interactive in terms of their fan base. So the only one I could see doing that is Xbox, but I think that's pretty unlikely because I don't think they can do anything absent some hardware shenanigans that will get people that upset or that questioning of their strategy.
It could cancel Game Pass. I'm not saying they're going to, but I reckon get a response there.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Or price hike it. But the do you think there'd be a similar outburst if Sony, because like quite a lot of the PS4 games and PS5 are kind of on PC now without a couple. Yeah. Do you think there'd be a similar like fucking screaming fit if they start announcing day and date?
I don't think so. I mean, well, you'll get some of it right from the diehard warriors. You would anyway. But because they're already doing that, it's just the time frame that they're kind of rigidly setting at the minute is long or longish for most games. I don't think narrowing that to the same time is going to upset people in the same way as them saying, yeah, we're making I don't know, Horizon free and also we're putting it on Xbox day one. You know, that clearly would antagonize people, but I think people have accepted now that PC is just a thing that exists. Apart from Nintendo, it's just a thing that exists alongside console that these developers are putting, these publishers, manufacturing their games on as well. So I think the initial outrage about Sony bringing stuff to PC is kind of past at this point. Again, outrage. So,
but they haven't done any. They haven't done any day one, have they? With that exception of Helldivers 2.
Yeah, not single player.
Yeah, that'd be because obviously the argument back in the day was the console person felt less special, right? But I'm saying in regards to the PlayStation fan base, you know, and stuff like that, I don't give a shit. Like, I want Death Stranding 2 day one. Like, I think Death Stranding 2 would be a great example for them to do that. You know what I mean? Because obviously it's Kojima, it's kind of second party and this, that, and the other. And then they're testing the waters with a single player, you know, game like that. No multiplayer component, so to speak, apart from the connected world thing, if they do that. I think it would just make sense for them anyway to do it, personally. They're saying like console market slowly declining anyway, right? So you got what you got, right? But if you can make more money day one, putting it on PC as well, that's what I'm just hopeful, you know.
Yeah, me too.
You're both hopeful for Death Stranding 2 on your PC on day one. I know you are.
Defo.
Yeah. Next question, if there are any more. But yeah, I think if it was like any of the other players, Sony or Nintendo, or probably the major publishers as well, if they felt the need, if there was enough of a vocal backlash, the furthest they'd go to address it is just disabling some YouTube comments, like make sure they can't hear people anymore, or it's less public, just mute the noise as much as they can, and that'll probably be enough. That was the last of our questions, which means that is the end of this first podcast of 2025. It is back to being a regular thing now, which means we're going to be here next Saturday, and we're going to be here the Saturday after that, and we're going to be here the Saturday after that, and then we'll reassess and see how I feel. No, we're going to keep being here after that, because it's fun, right? So thank you for coming along and talking to us, giving us those questions, listening to us talk about games that we're excited about, games we've been playing. All of that's going to carry on. Luke, tell everyone what you're up to and whatever you want to say, really.
I'm not up to much apart from this, so just find me here on the Discord, and otherwise on X and Blue Sky, all those places. Go find me in the wild.
Yeah, good luck. His links are in the description, so you can find him quite easily. It won't be that much of a challenge. Darge, your turn.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm still yet to join the gaming utopia known as Blue Sky, but you can find me on Twitter occasionally, getting told I'm wrong about things. Yeah, you can find me in the Gaming Arcadia Discord. That's where I spend a lot of my time. So if you're new around here, there should be a link in the channel description. Get yourself in there where there's just good conversation. And again, I get told I'm wrong sometimes. But yeah, other than that, working on a video. Might say that next week, might not. That's about it, mate. I'll see you all next week.
No, I want to say as well on the Gaming Arcadia Discord thing, there's a section in there that I want to draw special attention to because I love it very much. We've got a section in there called the Spoils of Lore. We're very, very careful on the podcast and very, very careful across like social media and all the rest of it not to spoil the games that we're talking about. Even the ancient ones, like I can talk about the original Final Fantasy VII and I won't tell you what happens in that story, even though I am itching to talk about certain events because I don't want to spoil things for anyone that might play them, right? Spoils of Lore is different. It is the only place where I will get into games and talk about the events that have happened with people that have played it and are willing and want to get that kind of discussion going. So if you like talking about games that you've played in some depth, join the Discord, make that place sing because it is fun to talk about games. But we'll always try and keep the spoilers free from these open spaces. So that's me. You can also find me on the Blue Sky and all the rest of it. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.